Growing your own food is one of life's simple, yet most profound pleasures. Among the many wonderful vegetables you can cultivate, cabbage holds a special place. It is a humble yet remarkably versatile plant that offers so much to the home gardener. Imagine stepping outside your door, on a crisp autumn morning or a mild spring day, to harvest a perfectly formed, dewy head of cabbage. The satisfaction is immense. Homegrown cabbage has a superior flavor and a delightful crispness that you simply cannot find in store-bought varieties. It is also incredibly nutritious, packed with vitamins and fiber, making it a healthy addition to any meal. This is a good thing for your family and your table. The benefits extend far beyond taste and nutrition. Cultivating cabbage connects you to the rhythm of the seasons in a very tangible way. Because there are so many different types, from early spring varieties to robust winter keepers, you can plan for a continuous harvest throughout the year. This ensures your pantry is always stocked with fresh produce. It is also an economically sound choice, reducing your grocery bills while providing you with an abundance of fresh, organic vegetables. The process of planting a tiny seed and watching it flourish into a substantial head of food is a rewarding experience that teaches patience, care, and the simple beauty of nature's cycles. Furthermore, cabbage is a beautiful plant in its own right. The broad architectural leaves unfurl in lovely rosettes, adding texture and structure to your vegetable beds. Finally, the sheer culinary versatility of cabbage is a compelling reason to grow it yourself. It can be shredded raw for crisp slaws, fermented into tangy sauerkraut or kimchi, braised with apples and spices, or added to hearty soups and stews. The journey from a small seed to a delicious family dinner is a gratifying one. And it all begins with the simple decision to plant a row of cabbage. It is a very good thing. Before you begin your year-round cabbage adventure, it is wise to gather the necessary tools and materials. Having everything on hand makes the process smoother and more enjoyable. You do not need an extensive collection of expensive equipment. A few high-quality, well-maintained tools will serve you beautifully. Start with good quality gardening gloves to protect your hands from soil and thorns. For preparing your garden beds, a few larger tools are required. A garden fork is excellent for breaking up large clumps of soil and aerating it, which is crucial for healthy root development. A durable spade or shovel will be necessary for turning over the soil initially and incorporating compost or other organic matter. A good tool, properly cared for, can last a lifetime. Next, consider your needs for starting seeds and watering. If you plan to start seeds indoors, which is highly recommended for getting a head start on the seasons, you will need seed trays or small pots. For watering, a watering can with a fine rose attachment is gentle on seedlings and prevents them from being washed away. For larger garden beds, a soaker hose or drip irrigation system is a wonderfully efficient way to deliver water directly to the plant roots. Finally, think about the materials needed to enrich your soil and protect your plants. A good supply of well-rotted compost or manure is the secret to a thriving cabbage patch, as these plants are heavy feeders. To protect your cabbage from common pests, it is a good idea to have floating row covers ready. This lightweight fabric creates a physical barrier against cabbage moths and other insects without blocking sunlight or water. Having these simple supplies prepared will set you up for a year of successful and rewarding cabbage cultivation. The journey to a year-round harvest begins with the simple act of sowing a seed. For an early spring crop, it is best to start your cabbage seeds indoors approximately 6 to 8 weeks before your last expected frost date. This gives the seedlings a strong head start in a protected environment. Begin by filling your seed trays or small pots with a damp, sterile seed starting mix. Gently press the mix down to eliminate any air pockets. It is important to use a sterile medium to prevent damping off disease, which can be fatal to young seedlings. Once your trays are prepared, it is time to plant the seeds. Using your fingertip or a pencil, make a small indentation in the soil of each cell, about 1/4 to 1/2 inch deep. Place 1 or 2 cabbage seeds into each hole. Planting 2 seeds is a good practice, as it ensures at least one will germinate. You can simply thin out the weaker seedling later. After placing the seeds, gently cover them with the seed starting mix and lightly firm the surface. Be careful not to pack the soil too tightly, as the delicate seedlings need to be able to push through to the surface. After sowing, you must provide the right conditions for germination. Lightly water the trays using a spray bottle or a watering can with a fine rose to avoid dislodging the seeds. Cover the trays with a clear plastic dome or a sheet of plastic wrap to retain moisture and create a humid, greenhouse-like environment. Place the trays in a warm location, ideally around 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Cabbage seeds do not require light to germinate, so a warm spot on top of the refrigerator or near a heat vent will work perfectly. Check the soil daily and mist it lightly to keep it consistently moist but not waterlogged. In about 5 to 10 days, you should see the first signs of green shoots emerging from the soil. As soon as the seedlings appear, remove the plastic cover and move the trays to a location where they will receive plenty of light. A sunny, south-facing windowsill is a good option, but for the sturdiest, most robust seedlings, supplemental light from a grow light is ideal. Keep the lights just a few inches above the seedlings for 12 to 16 hours a day. Continue to keep the soil moist, and once the seedlings have developed their first set of true leaves, you can thin them to one strong plant per cell. Cabbage plants are generous producers, but they do have specific requirements to thrive and form those beautiful, dense heads. The foundation of a healthy cabbage is rich, well-draining soil. These plants are known as heavy feeders, meaning they require a lot of nutrients to support their lush, leafy growth. Before you even think about planting your seedlings, you must prepare the garden bed. Work several inches of well-rotted compost, aged manure, or other rich organic matter into the top 6 to 8 inches of your soil. This not only provides essential nutrients, but also improves the soil structure, helping it to retain moisture while still allowing for good drainage. Sunlight is another critical component for successful cabbage cultivation. Your cabbage patch should be situated in a location that receives at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight each day. Ample sun exposure fuels the process of photosynthesis, which is how the plant creates the energy needed to grow large leaves and eventually a firm, compact head. While cabbage can tolerate some very light shade, particularly in the hottest part of the afternoon in warmer climates, insufficient sunlight will result in smaller, looser heads, or may even prevent the plant from heading up at all. A sunny spot is non-negotiable for a truly productive harvest. Consistent moisture is the third pillar of excellent cabbage care. The large leaves of the cabbage plant lose a lot of water through transpiration, so the soil must be kept evenly moist throughout the growing season. Irregular watering, where the soil dries out completely and then gets flooded, can lead to problems like split heads. A good rule of thumb is to provide about 1 to 1.5 inches of water per week, either from rainfall or supplemental irrigation. Using a soaker hose or drip line is the most efficient method, as it delivers water directly to the base of the plant, keeping the leaves dry and helping to prevent fungal diseases. A layer of organic mulch, such as straw, shredded leaves, or grass clippings, is a gardener's best friend when growing cabbage. Applying a 2 to 3 inch layer of mulch around your plants after they have become established offers numerous benefits. It helps the soil retain that crucial, consistent moisture by reducing evaporation. It also suppresses weed growth, which means less competition for your cabbage plants for water and nutrients. Furthermore, as the organic mulch breaks down over time, it adds even more valuable nutrients to the soil, continuing to feed your hungry plants throughout their growth cycle. It is a simple step that yields significant rewards. So the key to enjoying cabbage all year long is succession planting, which is, honestly, just a simple method of sowing seeds at regular intervals. By selecting the right varieties for each season and timing your plantings correctly, you can create a continuous cycle of harvesting. For your spring and early summer crop, you should plant early maturing varieties that are ready in about 50 to 70 days. Start these seeds indoors, as we discussed, and transplant the hardened-off seedlings into the garden about 2 to 3 weeks before your last frost date. Cabbage is actually quite cold tolerant, and a light frost can even sweeten its flavor. This early start ensures you have a harvest before the intense heat of midsummer arrives. As summer approaches, you'll want to plan for your autumn and winter harvest. This is arguably the most rewarding cabbage crop, as the plants mature in the cool, crisp weather of fall, resulting in exceptionally sweet and tender heads. For this crop, choose late season or storage varieties, which take longer to mature, typically 80 to 120 days. You'll sow these seeds directly into the garden or start them in trays in late spring or early summer, depending on your climate. The goal is to time the planting so that the heads mature around or just after your first expected autumn frost. These hardy varieties can often be harvested well into the early winter months. Growing cabbage through the heat of summer can be, well, a bit challenging, as high temperatures can cause the plants to bolt or flower prematurely and might even result in bitter flavors. However, it is possible with the right strategy. Select heat-tolerant varieties specifically bred for summer production. It's also beneficial to provide the plants with some afternoon shade to protect them from the most intense sun. You can accomplish this by planting them on the east side of taller crops, like pole beans or corn, or by using a shade cloth. Ensuring consistent moisture during hot, dry spells is absolutely critical to prevent stress and keep the plants growing steadily toward a successful summer harvest. For gardeners in milder climates, zones 8 and above, it is even possible to grow cabbage throughout the winter. Plant your cold, hardy, overwintering varieties in the late autumn. These plants will establish themselves and grow slowly through the cooler months, often standing dormant during the coldest periods, and then be ready for a very early spring harvest. In colder regions, you can extend the fall harvest season significantly by using protective structures. A simple cold frame or a low tunnel covered with greenhouse plastic can protect your plants from harsh winds and heavy snow, allowing you to continue picking fresh cabbage when the rest of the garden is asleep. It's really a wonderful way to keep your garden productive. Once your cabbage seedlings are established in the garden, a consistent care routine will ensure they grow into large, healthy plants. One of the most important tasks is feeding. As we have established, cabbage is a heavy feeder and will quickly deplete the nutrients in the soil. About 3 to 4 weeks after transplanting your seedlings, it is time to give them a supplemental feeding, also known as side dressing. You can use a balanced organic liquid fertilizer, such as fish emulsion or compost tea, applying it around the base of each plant. Alternatively, you can gently scratch a granular organic fertilizer into the soil surface around the plants and water it in well. Repeat this feeding every 3 to 4 weeks. Weeding is another crucial aspect of ongoing care. Weeds compete directly with your cabbage plants for sunlight, water, and essential nutrients, and if left unchecked, they can significantly stunt your crop's growth. It is best to weed regularly, removing the intruders when they are small and their root systems are not yet well established. Be careful when cultivating around the base of the cabbage plants, as they have shallow root systems that can be easily damaged. The best approach is to pull weeds by hand close to the plant and use a hoe for the spaces between rows. A thick layer of mulch, as mentioned earlier, will dramatically reduce your weeding chores. Proper spacing is something to consider from the very beginning, but it also influences care throughout the growing season. When you transplant your seedlings, be sure to give them enough room to grow to their full size. Most standard cabbage varieties require at least 18 to 24 inches of space between plants. This ample spacing ensures good air circulation around each plant, which is vital for preventing fungal diseases like downy mildew. It also allows each plant to receive adequate sunlight on all its leaves, which is necessary for the energy production that leads to a firm, well-formed head. As your cabbage plants grow, you will notice their large outer leaves spreading wide. These are the wrapper leaves that gather sunlight and protect the developing head in the center. It is important to leave these leaves on the plant. Monitor the plants for any signs of stress, such as yellowing leaves or stunted growth. Yellowing lower leaves can be a sign of a nitrogen deficiency, indicating it is time to feed your plants. If you notice a head starting to split, it is often due to a sudden influx of water after a dry spell, which causes the head to grow too quickly. Harvesting a split head immediately is the best course of action to salvage it. Even the most well-tended garden can fall prey to pests, and cabbage, unfortunately, has a few dedicated admirers. The most notorious of these are the cabbage worms, which are the green larvae of the cabbage white butterfly. These voracious caterpillars can chew ragged holes in the leaves and burrow into the developing heads, rendering them inedible. The best organic defense is prevention. As soon as you transplant your seedlings, cover the row with a lightweight floating row cover. Secure the edges firmly to the ground with soil or rocks to create a physical barrier that prevents the butterflies from laying their eggs on your plants. If you find that cabbage worms have already made a home on your uncovered plants, you have a few options. Hand-picking is a very effective, albeit time-consuming method. Inspect your plants regularly, especially the undersides of the leaves, and simply pick off the caterpillars and drop them into a bucket of soapy water. For a less hands-on approach, you can spray your plants with a product containing Bacillus thuringiensis, or BT. This is a naturally occurring bacterium that is toxic only to caterpillars and is considered very safe for organic gardening. It is most effective when applied while the caterpillars are small. Another common pest you might encounter is the aphid. These tiny, soft-bodied insects tend to cluster on the undersides of leaves and at the growing tips, sucking the sap from the plant. A heavy infestation can cause leaves to curl and can stunt the plant's growth. Often, a strong spray of water from the hose is enough to dislodge them. For more persistent problems, insecticidal soap can be used. It works by breaking down the insect's outer shell and is safe to use on edibles, though you should always follow the package directions and rinse your produce thoroughly before eating. Encouraging beneficial insects like ladybugs, which are natural predators of aphids, is also a wonderful long-term strategy. Beyond insects, cabbage can sometimes be affected by fungal diseases, especially in damp, humid weather. Diseases like black rot or downy mildew can cause yellowing V-shaped lesions on the leaves or fuzzy patches. The best defense against these issues is good cultural practice. Ensure you are providing proper spacing for air circulation, watering at the base of the plants to keep leaves dry, and rotating your crops each year. Avoid planting cabbage or any of its relatives like broccoli, kale, or cauliflower in the same spot for at least 3 years. This prevents soil-borne pathogens from building up and ensures your garden remains healthy and productive for years to come. After weeks of patient tending, the moment of harvest is incredibly rewarding. Knowing exactly when to pick your cabbage is key to getting the best flavor and texture. The primary indicator of readiness is the firmness of the head. Gently squeeze the head with both hands. It should feel solid and dense and firm all the way through, with very little give. A head that feels soft or loose needs more time to mature. The size of the head can be a clue, but firmness is the more reliable test, as different varieties mature at different sizes. Do not rely on the seed packet's days to maturity as an exact science. It is a guideline, and your local conditions will influence the actual harvest time. The method of harvesting is simple and straightforward. You will need a sharp, sturdy knife. Grasp the head of the cabbage firmly with one hand and bend it slightly to one side to expose the stalk at its base. With your other hand, use the knife to make a clean, swift cut through the stalk, just below the lowest leaves of the head. It is a good practice to leave the large, loose outer wrapper leaves and the root system in the ground. This has a dual benefit. Firstly, the roots will decompose and add organic matter back into the soil. A wonderful secret of cabbage harvesting is the potential for a second, smaller crop. After you have cut the main head, leave the plant in the ground. If you make a shallow X-cut on the top of the remaining stalk, the plant will often respond by producing several small miniature cabbages from the leaf axils along the stem. These cabbage sprouts are tender and delicious, perfect for a quick sauté or for adding to salads. This technique allows you to get a bonus harvest from a single plant, maximizing the productivity of your garden space. It is a thrifty and satisfying trick for the home gardener. Timing your harvest can also be influenced by the weather. It is best to harvest your cabbage in the cool of the morning. The plants will be fully hydrated and crisp, and this will help them store longer after being picked. If a hard freeze is forecast, be sure to harvest any mature heads, as a severe freeze can damage them. However, a light frost is not a cause for concern. In fact, for fall and winter crops, a touch of frost can convert the plant's starches into sugars, resulting in a noticeably sweeter and more complex flavor. This is why autumn-harvested cabbage is often considered the most delicious. Once you have harvested your beautiful heads of cabbage, proper storage is essential to preserve their freshness and crispness. For short-term storage, you can simply place the whole, unwashed heads in the crisper drawer of your refrigerator. Stored this way, a fresh head of cabbage will easily last for several weeks. It is important not to wash the cabbage until you are ready to use it, as excess moisture can encourage rot. If you have harvested a large number of cabbages at once, especially the late-season storage varieties, a cool, humid root cellar is the ideal environment for long-term keeping. These robust varieties can last for several months under the right conditions. The culinary uses for your homegrown cabbage are nearly endless, showcasing its incredible versatility. For a simple and refreshing dish, shred the cabbage finely for a classic coleslaw. Combine it with shredded carrots, a creamy dressing, and a touch of vinegar for a perfect side dish for picnics and barbecues. Cabbage also shines when it is cooked. Try slicing it into wedges, drizzling it with olive oil, and roasting it in a hot oven until the edges are caramelized and sweet. This method brings out a nutty, rich flavor that is truly delightful. It can also be braised slowly with apples, onions, and a splash of cider for a comforting and elegant side dish. Beyond simple sides, cabbage is a star ingredient in hearty main courses from around the world. It is the foundation of comforting dishes like stuffed cabbage rolls, where the tender leaves are filled with a savory mixture of ground meat and rice and simmered in a rich tomato sauce. In Irish cooking, it is famously combined with mashed potatoes to make colcannon. It adds bulk and nutrition to countless soups and stews, from simple vegetable soups to complex borscht. And of course, you can explore the world of fermentation by making your own tangy sauerkraut or spicy Korean kimchi, which are not only delicious but also wonderfully beneficial for gut health. By planning your garden for a year-round harvest, you ensure that you always have this versatile vegetable on hand to inspire your cooking. The crisp heads of spring are perfect for fresh slaws, while the dense, sweet heads of autumn are ideal for slow cooking and storing through the winter. Growing your own cabbage is a journey that rewards you at every step, from the satisfaction of the harvest to the pleasure of sharing a delicious homegrown meal with family and friends. It is a simple, sustainable, and deeply gratifying way to connect with your food and your garden. It is a very good thing.